Welcome back to Cloud 2K, and this is the Cloud Report. So today on the Cloud Report, you saw the title, we're going to talk about my favorite things from this past NBA season. Listen, the season's over literally today as I record this. Today's the last game of the regular season. Everybody's playing between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm recording this a little bit before 1 o'clock, so I don't know what's happening in any of these games yet. By the time you see this, maybe some of them are over. I'm not entirely sure, but I just want to talk about my favorite things from pretty much my first full season as a content creator. I mean, obviously, I'm not a full-time content creator or anything like that, but my first, full season truly diving in and being around the game as much as I have been, it's been probably one of the better seasons we've seen in a long time, so I got pretty lucky with that. But first, the questions are back this week, and I'm so excited. I'm going to go ahead and jump into that first before I get into today's topic. The first question comes from Brighton Season. Do you miss me? Yeah. Nah. I hope you had a good time over in the UK, in England, wherever you were over there in that area. Got to see a soccer team. I hope you had a good time, and I'm excited for you to be back. We got some content to grind out, man. You got to be back. We got to be ready for it. The second question comes from Levi, Tennessee. Which team that's projected to have a top pick would be the best fit for Cooper Flagg? And I immediately look at the Washington Wizards. Now, I am kind of a Wizard fan because they're one of my local teams. Maybe a little bit biased, but you look at a team that just last year drafted Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, Kaishan George. They bring in Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart at the trade deadline. They have Bilal Coulibaly there. They have a couple pieces that it's like, okay, or Jordan Poole, can't forget about Jordan Poole. This team has some pieces. They're really just looking for that guy right now. And we don't know if Cooper Flagg's going to be that guy. I mean, he's, I think, undoubtedly the number one overall pick this season. I think Cooper Flagg could really be a number one guy in a couple of years. And, you look at it, you can run a lineup of Jordan Poole, Bilal Coulibaly, Cooper Flagg, Kaishan George, Alex Sarr. Is that a championship level team? No. Is that a playoff level team even next year? Maybe not. But then again, with the veteran presence of Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton, if they're there next season, you still have a young Bub Carrington. You still have these other pieces that it's like, we feel like, at least in the Eastern Conference, we could push for a play-in, and maybe, and again, 2 to 3 years, Cooper Flagg takes that really big jump and is the best player on the team. I think he fits in so well that wing position that they desperately need help on. I would just love it to be in Washington. I get to see him multiple times a year. So I have a few things here that are kind of like my favorite things from this past NBA season. I'm just going to say what they are, talk about it a little bit, and yeah, that's going to be what it is. I think my first favorite thing is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Man, we all knew going into this season, the Cavaliers were going to be probably a top 3 to 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. You have, obviously, the reigning champion of the Boston Celtics. You have the New York Knicks, who just brought in Karl Anthony Towns. They just brought in Mikal Bridges. You have the Milwaukee Bucks, who have Damian Lillard, have Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Pacers were just in the conference finals this past season. And you're like, this Cavaliers team could really compete with them. Well, what we didn't expect to see is them to be multiple games above the Celtics for the first seed in the Eastern Conference. At the end of the season, they've locked up the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and it's like, this team is a legitimate NBA championship contender, and I don't think that's something a lot of people saw coming into the season. I mean, really, when was the last time a Cavaliers team has been good without LeBron James? It's been a really long time. Donovan Mitchell, still a star player. Darius Garland taking a huge jump this season. Evan Mobley taking a huge offensive jump this season. Potentially even a defensive player of the year as well. Jared Allen, always a very good fit. They trade for DeAndre Hunter at the trade deadline to kind of, help with that bench role. Ty Jerome took a massive step forward this season. It just seems like everything is going so right for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I think this is really a season where they need to jump on the opportunity. And obviously they're going to try to win a championship. You're always trying to win a championship. But listen, things are going so well for this team. I hope this year they can really pack it in and really hit and get to the NBA Finals. And listen, I'm rooting for the Cavaliers, man. I'm always going to root for, I want to call them underdogs because obviously they're the second best team in the entire NBA record-wise. So they're really an underdog? No, but you get what I mean. Like a team that, again, going into the season, people didn't expect to be in this position. I'm always going to root for those type of teams. The second is also going to be a team in the Eastern Conference. It is the Detroit Pistons, a team that lost 28 straight games in a row last year. Broke the record for the most consecutive losses in a row. Get a new head coach. You get a jump from Cade Cunningham. You get Tobias Harris coming over from Philly, making an impact. You get Malik Beasley coming over and really embodying the spirit of Detroit, basically begging not to be traded at the deadline. Tim Hardaway Jr. comes over, makes his impact. Jaden Ivey was really good to start the year, unfortunately got injured. Isaiah Stewart really cemented himself as a phenomenal defensive player. And listen, he's going to be that tough, gritty guy that really embodies Detroit basketball with, again, the physicality. Some people might call it dirty. I don't think it's really dirty. I just think he's a very physical guy. It's insane going from a team that was the worst team in the NBA, I believe, last year record-wise, losing 28 in a row, to now being a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference going to the playoffs, I'm sorry. I don't know if this team really has what it takes to get deep into the Eastern Conference playoffs, but it's a huge, huge jump. Not even mentioning, everybody's talking about Amen Thompson and the jump he took this year. Asar Thompson also took a big jump this year, coming back from his blood clots that he had last season that missed the second half of the year with his blood clots. So, I mean, everybody has been doing so well and took a huge jump. Cade Cunningham's in the MIP race. Now, some people don't think he should win it because he's a former first overall pick that's been good. I kind of understand that point of view as well, but it doesn't change the fact that this entire team has elevated to a different level, and the first time in a long time, I mean, they had the 1 year with Blake Griffin where they made the playoffs, but really the first time in a long, long time, the Detroit Pistons look like a good basketball team for years to come. My next thing is that just the longevity of some of the superstars in our league, more looking at Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. Steph Curry and LeBron are both in the playoffs in the Western Conference. Now, unfortunately, KD and the Suns have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, so you're not going to see Kevin Durant in the playoffs this year, which sucks, but we're getting great seasons from all three of our aging superstars. Steph Curry is having a year which he's averaging 24.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting about 40% from 3, and again, a team that is now in the playoffs. Again, they actually started the season really, really good, and then kind of fell off with a lot of injuries. Steph Curry wasn't looking quite like himself, and then they trade for Jimmy Butler, and since then have been one of the best teams in the Western Conference, one of the best teams in the league, and we've seen a rejuvenated version of Steph Curry. A lot of it's because you took some pressure off of Steph Curry because of having another threat on the court like Jimmy Butler, but again, a guy that has really changed the game, has turned 37 during this year. When we look in years past, when guys hit 32, 33 is when we look at oh yeah, they're going to definitely take a step down. They're going to definitely take a turn back. This guy is 37 years old, and he's still one of the best point guards in the entire NBA. Next, we look at Kevin Durant, 26.5 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 43% from 3. And again, he's basically 50, 43, 84. His free throw is not 9%, but he's having a hell of an efficient season. It's what Kevin Durant does. Again, the Phoenix Suns team is not in the playoffs, and that's really unfortunate. We're not going to see Kevin Durant playoff basketball. But again, still one of the best scorers in the entire NBA. Obviously, one of the best scorers of all time. We all know this. Defensively, as even locked in defensively, and I know it's kind of crazy when they're such a bad team, but if you watch Kevin Durant's individual defense, he tries, man. He tries, and he's actually a pretty decent defender, especially for this point of his career. And I know a lot of people still have some issues with Kevin Durant because of the whole Golden State Warriors thing. Hell, maybe even the Phoenix Suns thing as well. But listen, we're watching a generational scorer, a generational player at 7 foot tall, being able to handle the ball, be a good mid-range shooter, a fantastic three-point shooter. You can't really take for granted the type of offensive just monster that Kevin Durant is, especially a guy that's 37 as well. 36, he's 36, but you get what I'm saying. And then last, but of course not least, LeBron James, 24.5 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 51 from the floor, about 38% from 3, 78% from the free throw line. But a guy that, again, unfortunately, his streak of 20 plus years of averaging 25 points per game is going to come to an end this season. It sucks, but this guy is 40 years old, and for a good part of the season, played like a top 10 player in the entire NBA at 40 years old. LeBron James is undoubtedly a top 3, even arguably to some people and to a lot of people, the number 1 player of all time, and we are witnessing him do it at the age of 40. And again, I know LeBron has a lot of haters because of this, because of that, some of it's on-court stuff, some of it's off-court stuff. I'm not really here to debate the GOAT debate right now at all, because it's just not what we're doing here. You need to understand, we're seeing one of the best players of all time right in front of us, still being a dominant force at 40 years old. They trade for Luka during the halfway point of the season, which I'm going to get to here in a second, but you saw a rejuvenized version of LeBron James on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. He went out for a little bit. It's taken him a little bit to kind of gear back up since he came back from his injury, and that's something that has been kind of really sad to see, because we know LeBron in years past had that switch. He could flip the switch on and off and just really take off into the next gear, and now it's taking him a little bit to kind of rev his engines back up. And I mean, again, he's 40. He even had that clip on his podcast with Steve Nash where he said there was 3 buses to take before the game, 3, 4, and 5 o'clock. He tried to hit the 3 o'clock bus. He couldn't get up from his nap. Set his alarm for the 4 o'clock bus. Couldn't get up from his nap. Set his alarm clock for the 5 o'clock bus. finally got up, got to the stadium, wasn't feeling very good at all throughout his warm-ups, and he dropped 40 against the Trailblazers. I mean, he's one of the GOATs, maybe the GOAT, however you feel about it. And listen, I know people are going to hate him and maybe not appreciate him until he retires, but we are seeing the last probably year or two of his career. So please just appreciate what you're watching before it's too late. The last thing is the insane 2025 NBA trade deadline that we had. Probably the most insane, crazy NBA trade deadline we've ever had. Like literally ever happened this season. Brandon Ingram goes from the Pelicans to the Raptors. Zach LaVine goes from a longtime Bull to the Sacramento Kings. Part of that same trade, De'Aaron Fox, a longtime King, goes to the San Antonio Spurs to team up with Victor Wembanyama. Jimmy Butler, after his whole escapade, gets to the Golden State Warriors. Anthony Davis was traded to the Dallas Mavericks in the same trade that Luka Doncic was traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler, De'Aaron Fox are all guys that are pretty much current or former All-NBA players. Even Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine have been All-Star level players that were traded at this deadline. And I'm sure I'm going to forget. There's a lot of people that got traded. I'm going to forget something because I'm talking about it right now. This is the most active trade deadline we've ever seen with superstars. Kevin Durant did not get traded, but there was real rumors that Kevin Durant could have got traded at the deadline. That didn't happen. It doesn't matter. We didn't need it. It was insane anyway. We're seeing multiple franchise-altering moves. Now, what does the Mavericks do? They have a very, very small window. Anthony Davis got injured. He came back. Kyrie Irving is out the rest of this year. Probably going to miss most of next season too with a torn ACL. Did Dallas completely ruin their future? A lot of people seem to think so, but again, that's not the point of this video. The Lakers, a team that had LeBron at 40 years old, had Anthony Davis in his 30s. It's like, man, this team is not ready for the post-LeBron era. Well, they just traded for one of the best players in the NBA. He's 25, 26 years old. This Lakers team's now set up for the next 10 years. They extended their window way into the future. Jimmy Butler goes to the Golden State Warriors, a Heat team that was just not very good anymore. He kept getting suspended by Pat Riley. Him and Pat Riley did not get along at all. He goes to the Golden State Warriors, helps rejuvenate Steph Curry's season, like I talked about earlier. And the Warriors went from a team that were probably going to miss the playoffs or be in the play-in to now being a real force that people do not want to see in the first round, because Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, famous playoff risers, they could take you down. Zach LaVine, a guy that has been a Bulls, I don't want to say legend, because like it doesn't have like the championship stuff like that, but like if you look at the Bulls the past pretty much 10 years, Zach LaVine's been the guy that's been the consistent standout all-star level player. You know, the Bulls have been in such a weird situation for the past couple years with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Vucevic. Like, the team wasn't good enough to win a championship. They had about a half a season where they were a 1 seed. They finally move on from Zach LaVine, bring in some players, and now Josh Giddey has kind of taken over being a all-star level player the past month, like last 1 or 2 months of the season. Again, it's March basketball real, whatever, but still, the Bulls completely shift their timeline. The Kings, on the other hand, kind of are redoing the Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan pairing that didn't go well and didn't go well in Chicago. So I don't really know what the Kings are doing. They're just showed to be time and time again a pretty incompetent front office. Same with the Denver Nuggets, man. I know they do a lot of the trade deadline, but talk about incompetent front offices. They fire Mike Malone. They fire Calvin Booth. Now they don't want to trade Michael Porter Jr. because he has connection to Missouri that their owners have, even though he only played there for 1 season. I don't know what's going on with the Denver Nuggets either. Then Brandon Ingram, a guy that, like, you look at this Pelicans team these past couple of years, who had CJ McCollum, who had Zion Williamson, who had Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, pieces that you really, really like. They make a trade to bring in DeJounte Murray before the season started. They didn't know what they were losing in Dyson Daniels until it was too late. But a team that's like, man, on paper, this team should be fighting for playoffs in the Western Conference. We're just dealing with injury after injury after injury after injury. They finally move on from Brandon Ingram. They're trying to build a different direction. To pretty much wrap it up, this has been one of the best NBA regular seasons of all time, at least in the history of me watching. I know, like, we didn't have some of the crazy scoring outputs that we did last season with the 70-some point games, stuff like that. And again, we have to wait and see what the playoffs look like. Are the Thunder going to just dominate through the Western Conference? Are the Cavs going to continue dominating the Eastern Conference? Are the Celtics going to come back to win a back-to-back chip? Is the lack of playoff experience going to hurt the Thunder and they lose to a Lakers team? They lose to a Warriors team early. The Rockets, I didn't mention the Rockets, a team that was in the play-in last year, took a huge jump and are now the 2 seed. I don't want to forget you guys, Rockets fans. You guys maybe are lacking that number 1 true superstar right now, but between Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Amin Thompson, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, I can keep going. Tari Eason, I can go on and on and on and on about the amount of great role players and budding stars that you have on your team that are just winning games. Can they make a deep playoff run without that real true number one guy? Or are they going to get exposed and then have to trade for a guy in the offseason? It's been a phenomenal season. And I mean, really, a lot of people aren't understanding that because they're being very, very critical. I mean, hell, we had the whole beef between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James on the media tour. Listen, man, it's been a phenomenal season, and I really, really hope you appreciate it.